In this video, I'm going to teach you the secrets to making your own effective cleaning products at home for pennies. And just a quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to the Clean My Space channel. And if you're interested in DIY cleaning recipes, we have an ebook available on the Clean My Space website. I've got a link for you down below called 50 DIY Cleaners. It's a good one. To make your own DIY cleaners, you need a few things. You need the recipes, you need the tools, and you need the ingredients. So I want to cover off the three most crucial ingredients that you're going to need to make DIY cleaners. They're very inexpensive and you probably already have them: vinegar, dish soap, and baking soda. I'm starting with the star of the show, dish soap. All dish soap is not created equal, so I definitely recommend using the best quality dish soap you can afford in your budget. Now, in our house, we use dish soap to clean the majority of surfaces the majority of the time. I love it, and I'll tell you why. Dish soap's main job, like, you know how there's that joke and it's like you had one job. Dish soap's one job is to lift dirt to a surface. It's a surfactant. That's what it does. It brings greasy things up to the top and allows you to get rid of them. So the way that I use dish soap around the house, I mix it up with water, just a couple of drops, and I use it as a countertop cleaner. I will use it to clean my floors. I use it, it's great for like a quick little stain remover. There are so many ways you can use dish soap around the house. Now, a few things to be aware of when it comes to using dish soap around the house, and there are not many. Just overuse of dish soap, specifically when you're cleaning a surface, could lead to too much residue being left behind. A lot of my DIY recipes are no rinse, meaning when I spray my DIY cleaner on the counter, I will wipe it off and I won't have to then rinse it to remove residue. But the more dish soap that you have in a recipe, the more rinsing you're gonna have to do after. And that even applies to, say, if you're using dish soap on a clothing stain or an upholstery stain. Too much dish soap means you're gonna have to work that much harder to rinse it out after. When it comes to vinegar, you're not using any old vinegar. You've got two options. You can either use plain white vinegar, 5% acetic acid. That's the stuff you can easily find in the grocery store. Or you can use cleaning vinegar, which usually comes in a smaller container like this and has anywhere from 6 to 10% acetic acid content. It's a little more concentrated, a little more heavy duty. You want to wear PPE when you're using that vinegar. Now, why do we love vinegar for cleaning? Because of the 3 Ds. It can degrease, it can descale, and it can deodorize. So if you have, for example, some hard water buildup in your bathroom or your kitchen, that's when you would want to get the vinegar out to help work out that scale. You can also use it to remove grease from a surface, specifically a glass surface. Love using vinegar and water to clean mirrors and windows. Generally speaking, I will dilute it, but there are times where I have known to go straight for it with just plain vinegar. I know this part will sound counterintuitive. Vinegar definitely has a divisive smell, but you can use it as a deodorizer. Quite simply, you just pour it where you want to get rid of the odor. So you can either just pour some in a bowl and put it away in a corner. You can even pour some at the bottom of your garbage can or compost bin just to let it deodorize for a bit, rinse it out, let it dry. But vinegar has a very unique ability to get rid of odors. As with anything I'm going to talk about in this video, you always want to make sure that you know the surface that you are cleaning before you just whip up a product and use it on there. If the product or the inputs of the product don't play well with the surface itself, it is not a good choice. So in vinegar's case, you don't want to use it on natural stone. It's an acid and it can actually cause some damage to your surface. So you want to make sure you're avoiding that. And secondly, know what you can and cannot mix your ingredients with. Vinegar, bleach, don't do it. You can kill yourself or hurt yourself. It's a bad idea. And baking soda. I know you've heard me talk about this a lot, but baking soda is a rock star. I know it looks lame, but it provides mild abrasion to just about anything and it's safe. it deodorizes, and it also whitens and brightens. So there are lots of different applications for baking soda. You can use it to deodorize your fridge or your garbage can. You can use it in so many different deodorizing capacities, but the mild abrasion is why I really love baking soda. It is so great at cleaning and getting that perfect shine in your sink. It helps lift off that schmutz stuck onto the bottom of your pot. It can really help move the needle, getting rid of soap scum in your bathroom. So yeah, baking soda, cheap as nails, cheaper than nails, I bet you, and incredible for cleaning. Some things to keep in mind when you're using baking soda, but of course this applies to cleaning in general, and that is to just test the surface first to make sure that it can tolerate what you're using. So you want to find a hidden area, do a quick little test to make sure in this case that the baking soda isn't causing any scratching, and then go to town. Next up with baking soda, just like with borax, because it's a powder, you actually aren't very successful in maintaining this product past its immediate use. In other words, make it on demand, don't make it and then store it. And finally, just a little tip, baking soda and vinegar, everyone talks about how great they are if you use them together as cleaners. They are not great together as cleaners. They neutralize each other. That's why you get that cool explosion. So if you want to clean with vinegar and baking soda, clean one after the other. So use baking soda first and then vinegar, or vice versa. There are a number of other ingredients that you can find around your house to use in DIY cleaning products. Got a few of them here: coarse salt, hydrogen peroxide, rubbing alcohol, essential oils, cornstarch, cream of tartar, la 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 la. Here's the thing, you want to make sure that you're using a tested, proven recipe and you're not making them up yourself. First of all, you could be wasting your inputs. Second of all, if the product doesn't work, you're wasting your time. And finally, it could be dangerous for you or for the surface. So just use something that's tested. Again, I've got that 50 DIY cleaning recipe ebook, got that link for you down below. What I thought I would do in this video is show you that if you set a timer and you try to be as efficient as you can accomplish quite a bit in 10 minutes. So I didn't clean this kitchen last night. I didn't clean this kitchen this morning. So this is what an average kind of messy-ish kitchen looks like in my home. I'm gonna give myself 10 minutes on the timer and show you how I get as much done in that chunk of time. My hope is that you can use some of my techniques so that you can cut the amount of time you spend cleaning a space that might otherwise feel overwhelming on a daily basis. Now look, this isn't a disaster zone cleanup. This is my kitchen after 2 meals that hasn't necessarily been overly maintained or tidied. I left it that way specifically to film this video. So when we think about 10 minutes, that's kind of the amount of time I have between, when my daughter is playing in her toy kitchen and we have to move on to something else. So it's a good chunk of time for me to challenge myself and think how I can get the most work done in that 10-minute time period. It's like listening to 2 songs or 1 short form podcast. So the name of the game is being strategic. Now, these are some of the principles I always talk about: letting tough surfaces be pre-treated and soak while you're doing other tasks, and using the 3 waves. So I'm gonna start by doing my tidying and organizing. You're gonna see me kind of run around the kitchen and collect all of my items, get the dishes going. I'm already gonna be pre-treating some of the dirty areas and the pots and the pans that are gonna require some extra scrubbing. Then I'm gonna take care of the surfaces like counters and the floors if I have time. We're gonna see how much I get done, but the point is, you have to be strategic, kind of like a football coach negotiating a play with the team. You kind of got to think it out in your head before you actually get started. That is how you're going to be the most efficient with your time. Okay, we're going to put 10 minutes on the timer. Now, every now and then I might stop because I have something to tell you, but I'm going to give myself 10 minutes on my timer, set a timer for 10 minutes, and let's see how far I get. First up, I'm gloving up. Now I'm pre-treating anything that I know will require a few minutes of soak time. So I'm adding some baking soda, some warm water, and a little bit of dish soap to this pan. And I'm gonna be spraying down anything else that needs to pre-soak with some soapy water. Now I'm going to load up any of the dishes that are in the sink, and you'll see me work my way around the kitchen in a clockwise manner, kind of tidying up and grabbing dishes and sort of putting things away. This is the first wave of our 3-wave system that helps get a space cleaned quickly. I'm not being too careful here loading things in the dishwasher. I'm not caring too much where they go. It's more about just getting the job done quickly. Okay, now I'm just gonna grab my all-purpose cleaner. I'm gonna spray down the surfaces liberally so they can soak while I'm doing my scrubbing over here. The reason I'm doing this is because the soapy water will help to break down anything sticky or dirty while I'm doing the scrubbing. That way the product is doing the heavy lifting for me. Now, I said spray liberally, which means I'm giving it good sprays, not just, a little sneeze here or there. That way, by the time I'm ready to come back to it, it'll actually still be a little bit wet and enough for me to give a good cleaning too. All right, I'm gonna start scrubbing. That is gonna take the most work, so I'm gonna do that one last and let it soak for as long as it can. I'm quickly wiping this counter up and I'm laying down a waffle weave towel because I'm going to use that section of the counter for all of the things that I'm hand washing to dry. This is why having a really good understanding of the products, tools, and techniques, or the PTTs, is key because it allows you to work through a volume of work like this really efficiently. Combining the pre-soaking with the right products, tools, and techniques makes cleaning this chickpea curry braiser a much faster job. And on that note, you'll notice I'm using a non-scratching scrub pad. That means that this particular cooking vessel won't get scratched up, but it still does a really efficient job at getting it cleaned. So now that the general surfaces are tidied, I'm going to take a microfiber cloth and clean the surfaces quickly. Oh, and if my overhead exhaust looks funny, that's because there's a part that's been on back order due to COVID for a very, very long time. Now you'll see I'm just sweeping things onto the floor here. I don't really care because my intention is to clean the floor at the end, so I'm not worrying too much if anything falls on the floor. The final thing to do is to scrub the sink and clean the floors. I'm just gonna do a quick sweep or vacuum depending on how I feel. I always do the sink last because there's no point of cleaning it while I'm still cleaning the rest of the kitchen. And in this case, I decided to squirt some Barkeeper's Friend in there. Again, I'm using that same non-scratch scrub pad. I'm giving both sinks a really good scrub. I'm gonna warm up the water, just give my sponge a quick clean, wring it out, let it dry, and then I'm gonna give everything a nice rinse down and empty those little sink traps. You'll notice that when I was doing this, my goal was to not repeat work or repeat steps. That's called being efficient while you're cleaning. And I decided to vacuum, let's be honest. Using this vacuum saves me a lot of time. And I'm not going for perfection here, I'm just going for getting the job done. You might know it as OxiClean, oxygen bleach, oxygenated bleach, non-chlorine bleach. It's got a lot of different names. Everyone kind of calls it OxiClean. OxiClean's actually a brand. It's kind of like the Q-tip of oxygen bleach, if you will. It's now just got that technical vibe to it, but oxygen bleach is an amazing addition to your home because it helps with laundry and it helps deal with stains and odors. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 10 different ways that you can use oxygen bleach at home, whether it's OxiClean or any other brand. Now let's start off with laundry and more specifically pre-treating because oxygen bleach is a great pre-treater. Now there are a couple of different ways that you can use it as a pre-treater. You can purchase a ready-to-use pre-treater or you can whip up your own if you have the powdered version. You can just put it in a spray bottle, label it, and use that. Or you can make up a big tub or sink and soak your item as a pre-treater before laundry. So I would use the soak if it's a really big, really difficult, or really smelly stain. And I would use the direct shot pre-treater if it was just kind of a small stain and just something I just wanted to, zap before it went in the laundry. Now, regardless of which method you use, you always want to use my desert method of stain removal, which is to get your stain flat and dry like a desert before you treat it. You can use oxygen bleach as a laundry booster. And if you read the back of the package, or if you wait until the end of this video, I'll explain to you how it works and you'll understand how it just boosts. It's like your laundry detergent on steroids. And I use this quite a bit when Riley was a baby, because babies get all the things on their clothes. It's like a baby just glaze, like a just juice glaze of stuff, and you need to clean that. So the best way to do it is obviously to use a great detergent and understand how your machine works. I talk about that stuff all the time, but if you really want to pack a punch, and that's what I needed a lot when I had a baby, I would just throw a scoop in. So you add the scoop to the drum, then you load in your clothing, you run your regular cycle through, and your clothes just come out cleaner, less smelly, and brighter. You can use a solution of oxygen bleach or a pre-made oxygen bleach stain remover shot spray to deal with stains on carpets and upholstery. But there are like a couple of caveats I need to throw out there. First of all, you always want to lean on what the manufacturer of the item says. So I don't know all the carpets and all the couches in the world. You need to talk to or read your manufacturer's website to make sure that this is a safe method. That's rule number one. Next, you want to test this solution in a hidden area. So find a little corner, give it a little test, just make sure that the color's not going to run or it doesn't leave kind of a ghost imprint behind that you're going to then be stuck with. Because when you go for the big treatment, you're going to really regret it after. So if everything looks good so far, you can, like I said, either whip up your own solution in a spray bottle or a bowl, or you can buy a ready-made solution. They should work the same. Although I will say, sometimes the ready-made solutions have a few extras in them. I'll leave that for you to decide. So what you'll do is you'll get your stain desert flat and dry. Then you're gonna add your solution to that stain. You're gonna work it in with a little cleaning toothbrush. Rinse it out, blot it, and you can repeat it until you notice that the stain starts to come out. If you want to lighten up your grout, you can use oxygen bleach to do that. Now for this, it's recommended that you actually whip up a very concentrated version of the powder in hot water. That's going to be super important here. So what you'll do is you'll make that concentrated version and you're going to apply it to your grout lines. Let this sit, and it needs to be wet. So you want to apply it very generously. It has to sit wet for like 10 minutes. Once that's done, you're just going to wipe it away. You don't really have to scrub, and that should have done a really good job lightening and cleaning the grout. I spent many years working in food service, especially when I started Clean My Space. I was actually working at a steakhouse. For those of you in Canada, I was working at the Keg. And if you haven't been to the Keg before, you have to wear a white blouse and a tie. It was hot. But the thing is, like when you're serving steaks and clearing dishes, you are getting stuff on you all night. Plus, your shirt smells from you and from the steaks. So at the end of the night, it was imperative that I took care of my uniform tops, and I had a few cycling. Now, this was right when I started Clean My Space, so I kind of sucked at doing laundry, but if I could advise my younger self, I would have said, hey self, add a scoop of oxygen bleach to your load whenever you're washing your uniform. And this goes for anyone who has to wear a uniform, whether it's like a sporty golf tee or a mechanic outfit, whatever the case may be. I know those of you who, I know you're gonna laugh that I just called it a mechanic outfit. I'm sure there's a technical term for it. That's just not coming to my head right now. A jumpsuit, a boiler suit, whatever. You know, you got the visual. You're gonna add oxygen bleach to your load. That's gonna help reduce, release grease, odors, stains, and it's just gonna help your uniform feel fresh, because when you're working in something, it's getting dirty and it's getting smelly from you. So take care of it by using oxygen bleach. If you're noticing that your cotton towels are stinky and crusty, Something that you can do is add a scoop of oxygen bleach to your load. So you would add the scoop before you throw your towels in, wash as usual, to help break up the odors and some of the buildup. Now, I have a whole video on how to deal with stinky towels. I'll place that for you down below. We also have our own line of towels, the microfiber towels that actually don't smell, so you wouldn't need to do this on them. I will also link those down below, but the point is here that towels can get smelly from buildup over time. So this is a great way to deal with that. It's sort of a Band-Aid solution or a first step, and then the big stuff would be what I have in the video down below. Now, the other thing that you can do with this method is you can use it as sort of a preventative or an ongoing. So anytime that you are doing a load of towels, you can add that scoop of oxygen bleach, and it's a really good way to maintain the way that your towels smell on a regular basis. If you have a pet, you probably know they have a favorite soft surface, whether it's a pillow, a blanket, or a pet bed. And heaven forbid you stick your nose on that thing and smell it, because it probably stinks. So every now and then it's important to get those pet surfaces, whatever they are, clean and odor free. A great way to do this is to add that scoop of oxygen bleach to your wash before you throw it in, wash as usual, and you will notice that that item comes out not smelling like your pet anymore, which is great. Now, the other thing you can use oxygen bleach for in the pet sphere is to deal with pet stains. So if, for example, you have a barf or something that your pet has left for you, which I deal with all the time from Molly, thank you very much, you can efficiently deal with the stain by making it like a desert, flat and dry, blotting it up, and then treating it with a solution of pre-made oxygen bleach. So you would either buy the ready-to-use liquid, or you can get the powdered version, whip it up according to the package instructions, and then gently add that on, agitate it, rinse it, blot, and repeat as necessary. I have never played a team sport in my life, but I have heard enough of your comments to know, and I've spoken to enough friends to know, that sports gear and even workout gear, which I have experienced, gets smelly. So a really good way to deal with this is to soak your garments, your sports garments, if they're really dirty, in a scoop of oxygen bleach powder. You can soak them for several hours, use that as a quote-unquote pre-treater, and then launder as usual. You can also add a scoop of oxygen bleach powder to your wash before you turn it on. But what you do need to know is that many people in the sports world have oxygen bleach powder up their sleeve as a trick to get their uniforms looking crisp and white and clean if they're white, or if they are another color, they won't smell, they won't look or feel grungy. It really helps to rejuvenate and make those sports gear, you can tell I'm so not sporty, make that sports gear look good. Now, obviously you can't use this on heavy duty pieces of equipment or padded items. Again, this is where my sports knowledge completely stops, so I wouldn't do that, but I do think for the clothing, this is totally fine. As a child, I used to deal with chronic nosebleeds. I am also a regularly menstruating woman, so I have dealt with my share of blood stains before. And I know, first and foremost with a blood stain, you have to act fast. This is not something where you take your coffee break and then you deal with the blood stain after. Now, if you are that quick, you can actually just run the stain under cold water and it should rinse right out. However, as soon as you start to notice a ring setting in, that's when you want to start acting. Or if you're dealing with a stain that's not on a garment, say it's on carpet or upholstery, you have to think of alternative ways to deal with it. So let's take the cold water rinse out of the equation and let's talk about some of the more challenging blood stains. What you'll do first is blot up as much of it as you can. Again, flat and dry. Next, you're going to whip up an oxygen bleach solution with water according to the package instructions, or you can use a ready-made version of it. You're going to spray that on the surface. You'll let it stand for a minute or so. Then you're going to agitate it very gently and you're going to rinse it with cool water. Now, what's so important here is you want to avoid spreading the stain. The more product you add, the more water you use to rinse, the larger that ring of the stain is going to get. So you really want to use as little as possible. Keep your actions very minimal. You just want to be very tight, focused, and concentrated on this particular stain. Now, if it doesn't work the first time, blood is a very, very stubborn stain. You've got to keep working at it. The biggest tip is to not use hot water or even warm water. Cold water is key. And again, to keep it very concentrated. Let me just start by saying, I'm not perfect and my house isn't perfect. In fact, today I have not tidied my house for the purposes of this video to prove a point. As someone who has over 15 years of professional cleaning experience, both from running a cleaning business and cleaning myself, and of course, managing a home and doing this YouTube channel, I know what to look for very quickly in a home to assess just how clean it is. So if I come to your house, I'm not judging you, but I can't help it. These eyes are specially trained to pick out what's dirty and what's clean. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through my house and show you the areas that a professional cleaner would look at to very quickly gauge how clean your house is. Don't freak out, but use this information to your advantage. It's helpful. I'm gonna take my shoes off and we're gonna get started. Stepping into someone's home is a full sensory experience. And one of the first things I notice when I walk into someone's home is the smell. Now, when we walk into our own homes, we're so used to that smell that Febreze actually coined the term nose blind, meaning that we're essentially blind to the way our own homes smell. But a smell actually tells you so much about a space. How stuffy it is. Do they have pets? How frequently are they emptying their garbage? Is there a mold issue? Do you see where I'm going with this? Professional cleaners are pretty smart. They can smell their way through a cover-up like a candle or a spray or a plug-in. If you really want to deal with a smell, you've got to find the source of the odor and deal with that, whether it's laundering blankets or cleaning your soft surfaces, dealing with that garbage or that mold issue. But there are a couple of other things you can do to make sure that your house smells nice and fresh. I've got some videos for you linked down below, some great ideas on how to make your own scents for the house, and also some videos about air purification and how to keep your air clean. Floors are one of the largest surfaces in a home, and to make matters a little bit more challenging, they are the lowest horizontal surface that you're going to get. And I always say, dust and dirt falls from the top to the bottom. So if it's going anywhere, it's going on the floors. When I walk into a home, my eyes go straight forward and directly down. I can tell pretty quickly by looking at a floor just how clean or how dirty it is. Now, you might notice that the color of my floor was chosen pretty strategically. It's light. Light floors are actually much easier to mask dirt on than dark floors would be, specifically because dark floors show a lot of hair, but they also show a lot of foot oils. So if you like to walk around barefoot on hard floor surfaces, you will notice footprints on dark floors much quicker than you would on light floors. That's another thing I look for. Is the finish of the floor consistent? So my floors are textured so that you can't see all the time how perfectly clean they are. If you have a flat, shiny, glossy surface, it's like walking on a piano. You have to make sure your floors are immaculate all the time. So when I walk into a home, I kind of look for those things to see just how clean or how dirty a floor is. That would tell me if I need to spend extra time cleaning it. And if you want to have some great floor care ideas, specifically on how to clean hard floor surfaces, I will link a video for you to check out down below. You've probably seen a scene of a movie or a show where some like super snooty person walks up to a surface and goes and just looks at their dusty finger. Well, there are some obvious places that you should be dusting, but I can tell you, you don't even have to do that finger swipe test to know where the dust is, the hidden places where dust is. And I can just do like a quick glance and I can tell. So the places that I look are kind of the forgotten spots, like the mantles. And by the way, mantle for me, I'm 5'5", is kind of right at my eye level. So by me just going a casual, like this, casual glance, I can see if that's dusty or not. Then I'll just quickly look down at the baseboards. Again, something, most baseboards are white, you don't need to actually ever touch because you will see contrasting dust or dirt or stains directly on the white baseboard. I will also look at vents. specifically ones in the floor or on the wall, whether it's high or low. If there's a buildup of dust, it tells me that those haven't been dusted or cleaned in a while. And same with windowsills. Again, they're generally white, so if I just do a quick glance, I can see if they are dusty, dirty, etc. This, as a professional cleaner, would tell me I've got to spend extra time doing the details, so I know I would build more time into that cleaning. And for someone who is just looking for ways to put that extra polish on their home, these forgotten areas would be things that a professional cleaner would pick out and something that would make a difference for you. Now, don't let the clutter behind me distract you. Trust me, I'll cover that in a moment. I want to talk about walls and points of contact because when I walk into a home, listen, you're entitled to live your life the way you want. But at the end of the day, if a professional cleaner is coming in, one of the things that is going to add extra time onto their work is if there are a lot of fingerprints and marks on the walls and on the points of contact. Now, generally speaking, points of contact should be cleaned and disinfected at a professional cleaning anyway, but when I walk into someone's house, I always look to see just how dirty these are, okay? The other thing I look for is the fingerprints and the marks around this area. And then if there are little kids in the house, I always look kind of like around my knee because that's where little hands tend to run along the walls. I'll never forget, Chad and I moved into a house that had 5 children living in it previously, and there was like one long Adidas stripe around the whole house because it was just all the kids' handprints. Anyway, if you're a professional cleaner or if you're coming into your home and you want a pair of fresh eyes, look at your walls and points of contact and see what kind of condition they're in. Something else that sticks out like a sore thumb in someone's house is clutter. And the more clutter you have, I mean, the more visually difficult it is to enjoy a space. That's not to be confused with maximalism, which is a decor choice. But if there's a lot of clutter everywhere, it really does feel messy and disorganized. That is an obvious thing. When you walk into your home, you can clearly see the clutter, as I can clearly see the clutter in my house. But as a professional cleaner, you would know, okay, I gotta tidy before I clean. And this is something that I've been asked so many times. People will say, is it true you need to clean before the cleaning lady shows up? And the thing is, you don't have to clean, but if you get rid of the clutter, it actually saves the cleaning person time so that they can actually clean instead of try to figure out where your stuff is supposed to go or try to make sense of your clutter and try to make it look neater. Really and truly, the more clutter there is, the longer it's going to take to clean a home. So if you want to make your home look clean, one of the quickest ways to do that is to lose the clutter. 2 areas I haven't addressed yet, but I would check in any home assessment would be the kitchen and the bathroom. Now, of course, there are things that you're going to do anytime you go in and generally clean these spaces, but how long it's going to take you to clean these spaces really depends on grime and how grimy those surfaces are. And the way I define grime is any kind of film or buildup that's on a surface. So whether it's soap scum in a bathroom, dirt in a sink, grease on a backsplash, splatter on a mirror, you get the idea. That's grime. So if there's a thin or a low amount of grime, I can probably just spray it with a cleaner, give it a minute or 2 and wipe it off. That's pretty easy, average. If there's a lot of grime and I'm going to require specialty products or specialty tools or a lot of time to tackle that grime, I would then know to adjust my assessment accordingly. So what I look for specifically are shiny reflective surfaces to be indicators to me of how grimy a room is. Now, the other thing you can do to check for grime, aside from feeling a surface, is to do what I call the eye level test, which I love. It never lies. What you do is you get down to the eye level of that particular surface so that when you look at it, you are looking directly straight on at that surface, and it will tell you what is built up on that surface. When you do the eye level test for the first time, it's like you're seeing things in 5 dimensions. It is a new experience. And that is going to tell you how greasy or grimy a surface is. Now, if you're looking at a vertical surface, like say a refrigerator that's stainless steel, you can use the light again to sort of shift from side to side and see what kind of greasy, grimy fingerprints or buildup exist on that surface. Either way, there are a few different ways that you can assess grime, but grime will definitely inform how long cleaning these two very intensive rooms will take you. So my hope is that I've given you some insight on how you can assess your own home, some things that professional cleaners would look at if they stepped into your space and wanted to gauge truly how clean or dirty it was, and of course, what you can do about it. And if I were to come to your house, I wouldn't judge, I would just assess. And that brings me to this week's comment question, which is, if you knew I was coming over, what would you clean? If I knew you were coming to my house, I'd make sure the garbages were empty because smell is such a big deal for me, and I would also make sure the bathrooms are clean. And then honestly, I'd probably just apologize for the rest, but let me know what you would do in the comments down below. You can check out our playlist on how to develop better cleaning habits right over here. I think it really flows well from this video. And if you want to support the Clean My Space channel, you can do so by subscribing to it and catching our latest videos, as well as checking out the Makers Clean store. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.